victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, look around America. We see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it.
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the black point of view.
Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Damon K. Jones here, and welcome to the People Before Politics show. My name is Damon K. Jones, and I'm the publisher of the People Before Politics show. And my partner AJ will be here. He's on his way, and when he gets here, we will welcome him in. But this is another great Sunday. Hope everybody had a great Sunday, and this Sunday, we're talking about today, we're going to do a follow-up on the DOJ report of Mount Vernon Police Department. Now, we did the show and we talked about it, and then I got a call from my brother, which I totally apologize, and I forgot that he was PBA. I forgot he was PBA president because I got so many things going on. In my born retired life, I literally forgot, and I said, man, we had a great conversation. I said, dude, you got to come on the show. You got to come on the show, and we really have to talk about it because of the fact that it's very important, and I want the people that are watching, I want them to understand, out of all the police departments that we expect the DOJ to go in, Mount Vernon should not be the one. And I'm going to say that again. Mount Vernon should not be the one. And I think this is a real failure on the leadership in Mount Vernon. It's a failure on those in the community that calls themselves leaders and pastors and all of them. You know, we got pastors that are part of national organizations. And for the police department that they have their church in to have a report like this, shame on you. And this is a black eye to those good cops that just got here 5, 6, 7 years, because you're going to hear that this has been going on for a while, and you're going to hear that the PBA, believe it or not, has been reaching out to community leaders for help. You're going to hear about it. You know, it's different than, you know, some PBA presidents that I know will be in denial, but these guys really was trying to warn the public of what's going on in their police department, and nobody was listening because it came from the PBA. So we're going to jump. We're going to jump right in.
has released a scathing report following a comprehensive investigation of the Mount Vernon Police Department in New York. The report finds widespread constitutional violations and systemic deficiencies in the department's practices. The New York Civil Liberties Union responded, stating, DOJ's extensive findings make clear that the Mount Vernon Police Department has a long history of violating residents' constitutional rights, with officers acting as if they are above the law. However, Black in Law Enforcement of America offered a more nuanced perspective, noting that many good officers are in the MVPD. The organization emphasized that the DOJ highlighted broader implications of years of leadership failures, stating, "This is not just about police misconduct, it is about political accountability." The report exposes years of leadership failures to implement the oversight, policies, and reforms necessary to prevent these abuses. The result is a department with systemic dysfunctions that disproportionately harm the people and the hard-working officers the politicians are meant to serve. The investigation, conducted by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York and the DOJ's Civil Rights Division, uncovered a pattern of excessive force, unlawful searches, and unconstitutional arrests by MVPD officers. One of the most egregious findings involved the routine practice of conducting strip searches and body cavity searches of all arrestees until at least 2023, regardless of reasonable suspicion. The problems extend beyond individual officer conduct. The report cites significant systemic deficiencies, including outdated policies, inadequate training, ineffective supervision, and a near-complete failure to hold officers accountable for officer conduct. Of all misconduct cases reviewed, discipline was imposed in only 8% of cases. These issues are compounded by severe financial challenges. The department struggles with basic infrastructure needs. Approximately 40 officers still lack body-worn cameras, and there's limited access to less lethal weapons like tasers. Starting salaries for MVPD officers are significantly lower than neighboring departments, leading to recruitment and retention problems. The DOJ has outlined 10 key remedial measures the department must implement, including enhanced use of force policies, improved supervision of searches, better supervisor training, and more stringent accountability measures. Mount Vernon and MVPD's current leadership has expressed a commitment to improvement and cooperated with the investigation.
Sure that they were able to obtain the information they needed. They've had full access to our leadership, our officers at every level, our corporation counsel's office to ask questions that needed to be asked. They have done interviews throughout the community, and they have put the report forward.
However, the report clarifies that substantial reforms will be necessary to address these deeply rooted problems and restore public trust in the department. Please like, share, and comment. It's Black Westchester Magazine, the news with the Black point of view.
This holiday season.
And I'd like to welcome for right now till my partner AJ comes in, my brother Gene Jerome and my brother Nicholas Massagerio. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Thank you.
Man, I'm glad your brothers took time out. I know y'all got a holiday party going on. I was down there this morning. Montika had me slaving and putting all the stuff back up in the stage, and I got back up here. I got out of there, man. I got back up here because I had the show. But and she said, "Oh, wait a minute. How are they going to do the show and the party's going on?" I said, "Well, they're coming on the show, you know." so I'm glad to have y'all on, man. And listen, the stage is your guys. Which one y'all want to go first? Jump right in, man, and let's have this discussion.
Well, one of the things I wanted to address after the DOJ meeting report came out, and my understanding is that the mayor went to roll call and addressed the officers. So there's 3 key points that I was told. I wasn't there at roll call, so I'm going based on what was told to me from the officers that were present. So one of the first things the mayor addressed was like, right now, we're supposed to have 3 supervisors on the street, right? We've been fighting to have 3 supervisors on the street. There are times when we only go out with 2, and they usually hire a 3rd supervisor. So based on the DOJ report, one of their concerns was lack of supervision. Department has canceled and refused to hire a 3rd supervisor to work the street. So now you're going out with 2 supervisors. There's been nights where you only have 1 supervisor that have to work inside and work the street at the same time. Imagine
Really?
a city like Mount Vernon. Yes, yes. I've experienced it personally, so I can speak on that. And when I reached out to the administration, which the commissioner, the deputy chief, the chief, and I voiced my concern, their response was, "We're not obligated to come in. There's nowhere in the rules and reg that says administrator has to come in to cover the shortage of staffs. So if you come in one day and you're by yourself, you got to deal with it because they're not coming in."
It's crazy.
So yeah, so I don't know how you hiring extra supervisors when the department is budgeted for 200, and Marshall, you might be able to elaborate on that, 208 officers. We're currently operating at 161, which is
Really?
about,
It's
yeah,
lower now.
Yeah,
yes.
that's from the statement that the mayor put out in response to this report. 161 sworn officers currently,
So
and we've been
So-
no higher than 170 throughout this whole year.
So where's the money?
Exactly.
If you budgeted every year for 208,
Yeah,
where's the money? And let me ask another
that's the $1
another
million question, Damon. Because at minimum
Exactly.
salary, that's $2.3 million, not including benefits, which brings it to about $3 million, and that's just for 2024. We haven't been at maximum capacity of officers probably at all in the last 6-7 years.
Wow. Let me ask another question. Each shift, how many squads you got out on the street?
So technically, you're supposed to have about eight sectors.
Right.
About 10, it's 10 total cops.
10 total
Right.
cops.
Are they in the same squad or they're in different squads?
They're in the same squad.
Oh, so they're in the same squad.
Right.
Right.
So you only have you only have 1 squad on the street.
Yes. In
Well,
patrol.
there are times where you have an overlap, where you have 2 squads working at the same time, but the norm is 1 squad on the street.
Yeah, it's like
You know.
once a week the squads overlap as the rotation goes around.
So do you usually have what, 2? You have an inside supervisor and then someone that is outside.
Well,
2
you
supervisors.
normally have two street supervisors.
2 street supervisors and then all right, and it's been short.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah, Pat, you're there. You talk.
so the issue is on the day tool, which is an 8 to 4, right?
Right.
So a lot of time we go out with 2 supervisors, and we've been pushing for a 3rd supervisor because of the workload that we come across in Mount Vernon.
Right.
So the department was like, they're not going to hire a 3rd supervisor for the day tool. They're going to have one of the supervisors that's working inside come out and assist. Well, that never happens, right? So now on the day tour, you only have 1 supervisor on the desk and 1 supervisor on the street, right? And the agreement was the 4 to 12 and the midnights will always have 3 supervisors. Recently, the department, according to the administration, because of lack of funding, decide to cut a 3rd supervisor on the midnight and the 4 to 12, which is actually one of the busiest tours,
Right.
short, right? So to make it even worse, now if you have 1 supervisor on either of those tours, for the 12 and the midnight, they refuse to come in the administration to assist. So it's like, hey, you by yourself, deal with it.
No, so you got so they just being lazy. Like they just changing the rules and then don't want then don't want to work.
Right.
Interesting.
They hold us. They hold the lieutenants and the sergeants and patrol uh, to an accountability that they don't hold themselves to.
Right.
Right.
So it's do as I say, not as I do.
Right. Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Now let me ask you a question. Is that contractual or is that just an agreement?
It's an agreement, a long-standing agreement, where if you're short in patrol and you don't have enough supervisors, it's always been the agreement that the administration, whether it's the CO or the XO of that division, they come in and lend a hand. But we've been so short due to officers leaving, uh, where we don't have the proper staffing. So when I brought it to their attention because they don't want to come in, their response was like, it's not contractual, it's not in the manual, and we're not obligated to come in. That was the response I got from the administration.
Yeah, y'all have to make that contractual because you have to force their hand and make that contractual. So then they'll be violating the collective bargaining agreement. You know what I'm saying?
They would have to negotiate with us in order to make that contractual, which is another issue.
Well, yeah. But I would go to make it contractual, and I would do it now because most likely there's going to be a monitor, and it will show on the PBA part that y'all trying to adhere with the recommendations of the DOJ, right? To make sure that the officers are properly supervised. And if the city tries to push back, that means that they're not willing to follow the recommendations of the DOJ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because if they're making a decision, if the city's coming, if those decisions are coming up top, or the Sunday quarterbacking from the mayor's office, which she has no law enforcement experience at all, she shouldn't be making these decisions. Or you got to find out who's making these decisions, and the police commissioner needs to tell him to sit his ass down. Because the officers are not. It's clear in this report that there's not enough supervision for the officers that's on the street, and those are the ones need the supervision. And it goes and supervision goes into what? Properly understanding policy, right? Supervision goes into new officers after they come out of the academy. They need to be supervised to make sure what? They're properly understanding policy. That's what supervisors are for, right? To make good officers. When you're supervising them, you show them those type of mistakes that they're making while they're on the job. So the decision coming out of City Hall or coming up top is a complete failure of policing the city of Mount Vernon. Y'all go ahead.
I'm sorry. Give me 1 second, Master. It's interesting you said that about supervision, because the administration want us to hold these cops accountable, right? But if you don't have the supervision to be out there to supervise,
Exactly.
how are you going to hold anybody accountable? And it's funny because, like, the policy that they want us to hold those guys accountable for, the DOJ has found out those policies are antiquated. So
Right.
like, you want us to hold them accountable, you're not giving us the proper training, right? You're not supporting those officers out there adequately, but yet we're supposed to write them up when they make a mistake. But the mistake came from the administration, who's sending down the policy that they're following. So how am I going to punish you for following the policy that the department is putting out there?
Right.
And that's one thing I definitely want to touch on is accountability, right? Because this DOJ report came out and it's everything that I said it was going to be when they announced their investigation. I put it on Facebook. You go back and look at the posts. I said it's going to come back on the administration, and it has. Okay. And a few major points that I pulled out of that report is a lot of the policies that they have issue with hadn't been updated since 1993.
I believe it.
No, it's right in the report.
It's a new report.
And another one was, there was a meeting that the DOJ came and they had expressed couple of things they wanted changed. And they were going to come back in a few months. They came back in October of 2022 to check out the search policy to see if it was updated. And they created a search policy in October of 2022 and backdated it to July of 2022 when it was requested by the DOJ. So these are the leaders that you have in place that still were unable to comply with the Department of Justice effectively, and they're still running the department today. So where's the accountability? Because I can guarantee you, if JJ did something like that, or I did something like that, okay, they would have our heads. Okay, but that's a clear example of them trying to, pull the wool over the eyes of the Department of Justice to make it look like they're doing something they really weren't. And that's in their report. It's in their DOJ report. That's not something I'm just throwing out there.
Yeah, but see, that's you got to know you got to know what you're doing. And as far as policies being updated, I said it when what was it 2007, I think it was when the DOJ went into Yonkers Police Department, that if they just check, unfortunately, if they just check all the municipalities' policies, they all copy each other. Mm-hmm. And even and the same thing happened in Yonkers, where they said that the policies look just copied and paste, right. Like they just copied from somebody else's. It's like stealing copying somebody else's homework.
I'm laughing at that because you know what? When they first changed the search policy here, I was reading through it. I was president at the time, so they showed it to me ahead of time. And there was so many things in that policy that completely didn't pertain to our department at all. And I took the policy and I Googled it, and it actually came back to a department in Georgia, verbatim, word for word, was the policy they tried to pass. And then they ended up redoing it because I brought that to their attention. I said, this is a copy and paste from,
exactly.
Not even in this state. They got different laws. They have different practices. They say, how could you even try to pass this off as a new policy?
Exactly. But it was the same. Unfortunately, it was the same with Yonkers Police Department. Like we see that these chiefs, right? And I've always said that the Chiefs Association is like the Illuminati, right? They stop policy change. I've heard elected officials on the county level I've talked to people. He was the former commissioner of county police, and because they're overtraining. Like they train every police department that's in Westchester County. And he said it. He was like, dude, the problem is the Chiefs Association. We cannot get policy change from a county level, even a training level, to local police departments unless the Chiefs Association agrees upon it. So that's part of the problem, or why a lot of these police departments are policing from 1955 and 1960 and 1970 and 1980, sure. because these are chiefs, because the Chiefs Association, and if you're watching, you could come on the show. I'm glad for you to come on the show and talk about it. When I was on the Westchester County Reimagining Task Force, and we were talking about policy change. Hogan, whatever his name is, the PBA president from the county police, he literally said, oh my God, you want police to have doctor's degree. No, we just want them to follow proper policy. You don't need an extra education to follow policy. So I really think, man, like, you need better leadership. You need leadership that's going to think out of the box.
For sure.
Yes. Hold on. Oh. Yes. Look in the closet by the bathroom.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody.
Excuse me. I got my contractor here in the house, man.
So Damon, the PBA president's name is Mike Hagan.
Yeah, Hagen. Yeah, I mean, so we have to. I think I thank y'all guys for informing the people, and now the people of Mount Vernon needs to really call the mayor's office for change. It has to come out. Jesse Van Loo has been asking for years, for agenda. What is the agenda for the police department? What is a written agenda for the police department? And it hasn't come from, and the mayor has not produced one. What is the outline for policing the city of Mount Vernon? And now, after the DOJ report, what is the plan to address the deficiencies of the DOJ report? And have y'all guys heard anything from the commissioner or from the mayor? And this is not a jab at anybody.
No.
Let me make it clear. This is accountability and this is transparency.
That's a great question. When Marshall was the president, I was the vice president. On numerous occasions, we sat down with the administration, and the conversation was, if you're going to come out with a new policy, right, let's sit down at the table, right, work it through, so that way when the policy comes out, right, we can explain to the membership why that policy came out and why we're moving forward with it, right? I have yet, like with this DOJ report, I have yet to hear from the mayor or the administration to have a conversation to see how they're going to move forward. Maybe us being on your show tonight will change that. But as of now, I have not received a phone call from anyone in the administration or the mayor's office to have a sit down.
AJ?
I'm listening. I don't know what y'all covered already. That last statement you made. So you haven't heard anything from Mount Vernon Police Department leadership or the City Hall on the changes? I know they had a press conference with the leadership and the mayor, and they said there was a bunch of things that they were going to do or whatever, but they have not. The members of the police department have not been heard of any of these changes or been told of new directions they're going in, or since the report came out.
That is correct. The only thing that they came out with is a new policy on car stop. That was the only thing. It wasn't discussed with the PBA or its boards. It just came out, and once again, the DOJ says training, but it just came out. This is the new policy. This is how we're going to move forward, and that was it. We're supposed to read it in roll call to the membership, and that's it. So we're looking forward to have a conversation either with the mayor's office or the police administration. Let me just add one thing. As I mentioned on the top when we came on, that the mayor went to roll call and addressed the membership. Mm-hmm. One of the things that she said, which is a blatant lie, that she tried to reach out to the PBA so she can come to a PBA meeting, and we refused. Let me make it clear. There was an event at the Dole Center. The mayor approached one of our members who's on the board and asked that member if she could come to a PBA meeting. That member told the mayor, "I'm not the president. You need to reach out to the president and ask the president if you can come to a PBA meeting." That conversation between the mayor and that board member was about 3 months ago. The mayor has my personal cell phone number. I saw the mayor the other night at the PBA Christmas party, and she never asked me to come to a PBA meeting. Our doors is open. If she wants to come to a PBA meeting, she knows when they are, the first Tuesday of every month. She is more than welcome to come.
Let me ask you a question. So, have former mayors come to the PBA meetings and address the PBA, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even the current mayor has been to meetings before in the
Yes.
past.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But regarding this DOJ report and regarding the contract, she's also made statement to the membership in that roll call that she gave us a proposal and I failed to present it to the membership. That's another lie. because after every meeting, well, let me go back. The mayor never shows up to any of the contract meetings. Her attorneys are there. She doesn't even show up. That's one thing. After every meeting, the board makes sure that the whole membership is aware of the discussion that happens, during those contract negotiations. So based on her last offer, the membership overwhelmingly rejected her offer because it was a slap in the face of the hardworking men and women of the department what she proposed. So the membership is aware of everything that's going on. So if she thinks that the board is hiding information from the PBA, the rest of the membership, it's a lie, blatant lie.
Wow.
Interesting. Well,
Wow.
the mayor's welcome to come on and address all of this. I don't want it to be like she feels like she wasn't invited. She can definitely come in and address all of these things if she so wants to. So it doesn't get said that we didn't invite her here.
Well, let's be on the record. Gene called me, so I don't want people to think I'm calling out, to start stuff. Gene called. We had a conversation about the DOJ report, and I said, well, why don't you come on the show? So if the mayor feels her point, her counterpoint, or what her point is as far as this report is that serious enough, she has both of me and AJ's number. Because that's how we got to the show. So I want to make it clear. Because sometimes we hear, oh, well, I wasn't invited to this, I wasn't invited to that. No, Gene Jerome called and he and we had the conversation, and I told him, why don't you just come on the show and let's talk about it. But hey, Nick, man, I can't miss the moment, brother. I can't miss the moment. So there's a lot of people that say, I know you got a lot of haters, right?
Few.
Because you speak up for what you feel is needed for your membership at the time when you was working, and congratulations again and welcome to the Retirement Club of America. We had a meeting.
Yep.
You reached out to me. We were talking, and I said, and you was telling me about all the things and all the things that were going on in the department, and the police needed support. So I recommended, which I will never do again, that we sit down with Bishop Edwards, a couple of the other pastors. So you, from the PBA standpoint, can give them information, straight from the police department, so they know their pastors. Pastor DeCohen or Bishop DeCohen. We're not going to leave him out of this conversation. And they agreed, and we met at Bishop Edwards Church, and we sat there and we had a candid and honest conversation on how the police department was run. And I'm going to let you give your side of the story, then I'll give my side. Then we're going to get to what they actually did.
Well, listen, I mean, I thought that conversation was great. I thought it was going to be a big turning point for everything we were trying to accomplish. They seemed extremely receptive to working together and trying to fix a lot of these problems that we were bringing to their attention. And I mean, as you know, we scheduled a nice little press conference in the front of the police department. And from there, I mean, I don't know what happened, but we got hijacked in the front of the police department by the mayor and Glenn Scott, and the rest is kind of history. And as soon as I saw it going south, I got everybody off that staircase.
Exactly.
And we went on our way because that was
right.
It reminded me of the scene from Malcolm X where he had all the brothers there, and he just went like this, and he pointed that way, and everybody just walked. Yeah, I'm trying to do a live. It was also our time to do our WVOX show, and I'm trying to do it live. And all of a sudden, I just seen all the cops walk away. I'm like, yo, what the?
What the hell just happened?
So
Yeah, that was. I mean, you probably know a little bit more what happened behind the scenes,
exactly.
but I was so happy for that moment. I really thought that I was messed up after it. I'll tell you the truth. I had to go home. I had to
Yo, me too, bro. I was pissed.
decompress because I was going to lose my mind. I couldn't believe what actually happened. But yeah, I was very upset at that.
Yeah. So behind the scenes, you was there. You was there, Nick, when Bishop Everett says, Brother Damon, I want you to write the press release. Remember, I said, are you sure you want me to write the press release? Right?
Yep.
So I wrote the press release, and it was fire. Now, we met on Wednesday. I submitted the press release to Bishop Edwards on Thursday. We went back and forth with some words. We changed it. Friday I sent it out first. The pastors had a meeting from the press release because I didn't put my name on the press release. It wasn't my press conference. It was between the pastors and the PBA. Only thing I did was foster the meeting between the two groups so they could talk. And it was Bishop Edwards' idea to have the press conference. It wasn't yours, Nick. It wasn't mine, right?
No, for sure.
It wasn't a Black Westchester thing. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't Black Westchester. It was Bishop Edwards' idea to have it. Now on Friday, he calls me, brother, we might have to change the press release. So I said, why? Because the mayor, this is his exact words, called Reverend Richardson. And Reverend Richardson called me. I said, oh, well, what are y'all gonna do? Because my name ain't on it, right? What are y'all gonna do? Saturday goes, Sunday. Another conversation is me, Bishop Edwards, and Pastor DeCohen. Now they're thinking about canceling on Sunday, bro. They're thinking about canceling. DeCohen says, we can't do that. We already put it out there, right? Okay, now they go on, do their sermons or whatever. Monday morning, I'm down there early because I want to see what's going on. They were in City Hall.
Yeah.
Making the deal.
Unbelievable.
So people that are listening and that are listening to this show, when Nick sat there and put the issues on the table to the black pastors on how their community, people that pay tithes to their church, how they're being treated, the mismanagement of the police department. Instead of saying, thus say the Lord, to the mayor, they went through the back door like Nicodemus and made a deal. Y'all got to understand the politics that goes on in this city. Young officers that are watching, you have to understand the politics that goes on in this city. And you need to support the PBA because right now, listen, 2007, I believe, Yonkers went under DOJ. It's 2024. They just got underneath it.
Right. They just had a press conference in the last 30 days. I don't remember. Yeah. They just got from under it.
They just got from under it. 2024. So by the time y'all young guys got 5-7 years on the job, when y'all retire, the DOJ will be leaving. Think about it.
They're not staying here long enough for 5-7 years.
I was going to say, wait. I was going to say for the ones that stay. For the ones that stay.
They're not staying here for 5-7 years. Let me tell you something. I did roll call the other day, right? It was an overlap. Like Master Nick and I mentioned before, it's when you have two squads that overlap. And you have about like anywhere from 15 to 16 officers in the roll call room. So I asked them, how many officers in here have 2 or more years on the job? That was the questions. 2 people raised their hands.
Terrible.
2 people. 2.
And that's an issue outlined in this report as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. It is. It
This
is.
contract stuff, for the record, it's not about greed. Like, the mayor wants to put that out there. It's not. It's about public safety. You're not going to have a police force that is ingrained in the community and that knows the people in the community. And if you don't have people that stay here long enough to do that, because by the time these cops are starting to get to know the different people in the areas that they work, they're transferring to another job, and a whole new crop of cops is coming on. I retired June 30th. When I look at the cop cars driving up and down the street when I'm out walking or whatever, it's like a 50-50 shot if I know who's in that car. And I just left June 30th. Sometimes I wave, and these people must think I'm a weirdo just waving at cops in the street. They don't know who I am.
Hey, listen, man. They have to. I mean, you have to change the culture. You have to change the environment, and whether she believes it or not, or whether she takes it as an attack or not, it starts in City Hall, right? It starts and look.
Damon, you said something.
My wife works there, but I have to keep it 100, right? Because I put my career on transparency and accountability of law enforcement from here to Canada to England, all over the United States, speaking. And if you're not putting the right people in place,
100%.
if you're not putting the right people in place, you're not going to get the desire that's needed for the people that have policing, right? And the people, and look, if you know anything about law enforcement and you read the 9 Pillion principles of policing, it's the people and the police. It's the people and the police. And if they don't have that type of mindset and they're listening to politicians on how policing works, then the police department is going to fail. We had a meeting with Ernie one time. That's when him and Commissioner Bell was starting to be on the falling outs, right? And it was around 6 of us. Now, Bell had a lot of friends that was in law enforcement, frat brothers and everything. And since they both was frat brothers, they both was Qs, it was like, hey, listen, how do we bring our brothers together, right? It's about 6 of us, all law enforcement. Bobby Rivers was probably the most senior, but he was retired. He was around Ernie's age. And Ernie started telling us about policing. And Bobby Rivers said, with all due respect, Mayor, it's over 600 years of law enforcement in here. How is a mayor going to tell us how to police the community?
Right.
Because that's what politicians are used to.
And that's what's happening today.
Exactly.
That's what happens now.
Exactly. And that's my point. And that's my point.
And you have the young, forward-thinking officers, and some of them are lieutenants. You have the people in that department now that can lead it and can start to change the culture. The mayor has to do the right thing and put the right people in place to lead that department. And unfortunately, the same people at the start of this investigation, the same people that backdated orders to look good in front of the DOJ are still running the department.
They should be fired.
Exactly. And if the community should be outraged about anything, it's not about the cops out there doing things that are wrong, because the cops are out there following the policies, procedures, and practices that have been in place and that they were taught. It's the administration that allowed it to happen. It's the administration that didn't do anything to fix it. It's the administration that panicked and backdated documents for the DOJ. Those people are still in charge. So how are you going to be able to have accountability on an officer level if you have the top tier of your leadership that has not been held accountable for the failings that are detailed in this report?
I got 2 questions. One. So for the people that don't know, how does policy get changed for the police department? Does the commissioner just do it? Does it have to go through City Hall? Does the mayor Does the city council have to vote on it? What is that? Is there?
No, that's done at a department level. I mean, the commissioner would have to sign off on any new policy change, but it's done all at a department level. I mean, I'm sure that right now the mayor might have some say in it, but the commissioner can do it on his own. You know,
Right.
someone writes the policy, he signs off on it.
It starts from the top with the commissioner, and he has his, I guess, his network with the chief, the deputy chief, and so on. They meet, they create a policy. Then the policy trickles down to the XO and the CO of the patrol division and the training unit. So then they implement it to the rest of the department. The training unit comes in and they do their training. So if there's a failure anywhere in the department, that failure starts at the top. You can't blame the people at the bottom for like enforcing a policy which you created. And then when it goes left, you take a step back and leave them holding the bag, which is what the department has done. You know, the DOJ report complains about like the search, you know, car stops. And if you read the report, it also says those same policies contradict themselves. On one hand, you tell me it's okay to do something, but in the next hand, you say it's not okay. So if I'm not properly trained, which one am I doing?
Right.
And then you try to punish me for following your own policy and procedure.
Right.
Another question I wanted to ask, and as the vice president of the NAACP, so we had a meeting with the mayor and the former police commissioner. The current commissioner was there. I didn't know who he was, but he was in that meeting and everything. And one of the things we brought to their attention, well, we asked, was about, you know, the officers leaving. And the Mount Vernon not having their own tests, and they were pulling from the county tests. And the problem with pulling from the county tests, if you live in Scarsdale or wherever and you took the test, you didn't take the test to be a Mount Vernon cop.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But
Yep.
maybe because where you fell in line, that was all that was available. So when you get a chance, you leave to go where you want to go. Were we going to start doing more tests from Mount Vernon? So you're pulling from people who are taking the test to be Mount Vernon cops. You understand what I'm saying? And that may help.
They have been giving tests.
Huh?
They have been given tests. The last two lists that were generated were Mount Vernon lists, but they haven't had high turnout for people to take the test. And the reason for that is the low pay and a lot of the bad publicity, I'm sure, has something to do with it as well. But they've been very, very low turnout for people signing up to take the Mount Vernon test.
And you can also touch on the tier 6, Mastro.
I'm sorry?
You can also touch on the tier 6, which is
Well, tier 6 is a statewide problem, so that's another issue. So the tier 6 issue, though, it's a lot worse in Mount Vernon because you're not allowed to pad your pensions the way I guess
It's all over.
right, but it is all over the state. But the problem is being the lowest paid police department in Westchester County. You know, when you think about your retirement,
No, well, you make more than corrections.
very true.
They fucked that package all up. You that's why I got up out of there. You know, you make more than corrections, and we went from the highest paid law enforcement department in 1994 to the lowest paid in 2024.
Wow,
Figure that out. Yeah, and I'm y'all need to get new lawyers because we got the same lawyers you got, and that's what happened.
Well,
You know what?
That's my message to you. After dealing with them, since what 2000, get new lawyers.
I hear what you're saying. Here's the thing.
I'm out of that discussion now. That's Pat's job now.
I cannot put it. No, I hear you, and I understand where you're coming from. But I cannot put it all on the lawyer.
No, I'm not neither. I'm just giving you.
No, advice well taken. Trust me.
That's all I'm saying, bro.
But the problem is when you have the people sitting across the table who refuse to negotiate. So at some point, it doesn't matter what lawyers we have if they're not negotiating in good faith. So it's to the point where, like, and Mastro has been in some of those negotiations where we sat there and the attorneys across the table have no ideas what we're talking about. And let me make it clear, right? The mayor has not been to not one of these contract negotiation meetings. Not one.
And that's a failure. Yeah. And what about the city council person that's over public safety?
Nope.
And that's a failure on the city. You know,
Who is that? Who is that right now? Who this
Right now it's at Poti. And full disclosure, I had the opportunity not too long ago to sit down and talk with him, right? He was very receptive to everything I was saying. But being that he's new to that position, I don't even think he's aware that he's able to sit in those meetings. Because in the past, no city council, and Master could correct me if I'm wrong, but no city council members has ever sat
and
any contract negotiation.
Right, and that's a complete failure on the city. That's a complete the mayor, and this is not an attack, but you can't have a press conference and talk about reform, and you don't start reform from the city standpoint, and you don't talk about reform coming to the table with the collective bargaining agreement. You know, that's a failure. That's a failure because there's things that you could do. You know, you give a little money and you negotiate properly that you could get these reforms in the collective bargaining agreement.
Well, I'll give you something easier. Let's talk about steady tours for a second, right? Mm-hmm. Which is something that would cost the city nothing.
And they still haven't gave it to y'all.
Studies have shown, right? Steady tours increase, your lifespan. Is better for your family, better for your mental health, right? We've given the city like numerous charts, okay, in regard to steady tours. The closest we came was the last time when the administration was like, okay, and Marshall could correct me if I'm wrong, where the administration was on board with the steady tour.
Everyone in the administration except for the chief.
Tell them what happened after that.
And we were told that this was a done deal. They were waiting for, it was a whole joke. They were waiting for the city council approval. I called every city council person. No one even knew anything about it, and they don't have to approve it anyway. So that was a song and a dance. Then they were waiting for the mayor's approval. And when the deadline came to have this thing done, the commissioner called me up and said the mayor said no.
Well, I did.
Just like that. And it was a done deal. Everyone was happy. We were all good with the chart. We were all good with the distribution of manpower. And just like that, it went away. And to point out, one of the things that needs to be corrected, according to this DOJ report, is officer wellness. And that would have been a huge step.
Well, steady tours is part of officer wellness.
100%.
Steady tours lowers overtime.
Yes.
It's a fact. And I don't understand. They call this a smartphone. You could just Google the wellness effect of steady tours for police departments. You could Google, does steady tours lower overtime in police departments? You could find reports from the National Chiefs Association. You could find reports about steady tours.
We actually provided them with a lot of those reports as well.
Then they all should be fired because you're not, and this is why you're under DOJ, because you're not paying attention to the national trends of policing and where they're going.
Yeah.
And you have a commissioner that's supposed to be for wellness.
Right.
Right? She should be, if any one of them, she should be out of the forefront to make sure that the department has steady tours. And
in her defense, she's 100% for the steady tours.
Yes.
But unfortunately, they don't listen to her.
Well, who is making the decision?
Well, My understanding is it's the chief of police, but and whenever there's something that's about to go down that he disagrees with, he runs across the street and gets it fixed to the way he likes it.
And that's why you will never see. And this is part of the problem. This has been part of the problem with Mount Vernon all the way back to the first Ernie term, and maybe Blackwood. When you'll never get a commissioner
To be a commissioner,
if you have people running over to the city hall,
100%,
backstabbing the commissioner, because now he's like, fuck it, I'm getting a check. I see it on his face.
100%.
I see it on his face. I know that face from 33 years in law enforcement. Fuck it, I'm getting a check.
And on the wellness issue, Mount Vernon has a wellness division, right, which provides service to the community, and which, to her credit, Deputy Commissioner Lacker started, and Lieutenant Krista Mann took that idea and ran with it.
She did a hell of a job.
She brought recognition from Westchester County all throughout the whole state of New York because of the work she put in. Her dedication is unparalleled and unquestionable, right? Now, she's forced out. Guess what? There's not going to be a wellness division anymore.
Wait, what?
There's no more wellness division as of, I believe, January or so.
Let me ask you a question, brother.
Huh?
Let me ask you a question. How did man get forced out, but you got motherfuckers that violated people's rights still got jobs?
That's the question you would have to ask the administration. And at the time this occurred, like Marshall was the president, and we fought hard to not have it that way, and unfortunately we weren't able to prevail. So we take care, and the problem that I have with that is we take care of the community, but we don't take care of our own. So and the perfect example is we had an officer who was pregnant, and she was a high-risk pregnancy, right? She had a steady tour Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. Her doctor told her, hey, you're a high-risk pregnancy. You cannot work around the clock. The department forced her to work around the clock, right? Knowing that she was a high-risk pregnancy. Where's the wellness for our membership? To the point where while working the clock, she ended up getting hurt. What did she have? Lost that baby. It's like, I mean, charity starts at home. You expect us to go out there and perform, but you're not giving us the tools and you're not backing us up. So how are we supposed to go out there and do the job? And that's been pointed out throughout the whole DOJ report. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Marshall earlier. If you look at page 32, right, the third paragraph, it clearly says mismanagement resources and a history of financial challenges have prompted large numbers of officers to leave, including senior officers. One officer noted that some of the officers training others have been with the department for only 2 years. This misuse of resources and its attendant undermining of morale contributes to Mount Vernon Police Department lack of effective and constitutional policing. So when you have people with less than 2 years on training people, what do you think is going to happen? And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They're just learning themselves.
No, absolutely, and it's unfortunate. My department went through that. They went 10 years without hiring, and you got rookies training rookies. You know, but you also need proper supervisors. And then you know what? After a while, it becomes a trend because you become an untrained sergeant. Yeah. You know, and then you become an untrained. Like there's dudes that I know in my job that are captains, and I don't know how. I don't know why, right? Because they wasn't good officers. And then you have a dysfunctional department. But who allows this to happen is the politicians. At the end of the day, it's the politicians. I don't care if it's in corrections, police, sheriffs, or whatever. The politicians, when it gets dysfunctional, it's the politicians not paying attention to the signs. You know, as long as people doing what they say, you know, they don't care about the young officers. But when you have a young department, you have an opportunity to really make a good department because they don't have bad habits, but they're going to get bad habits if they're not trained correctly.
If no one's training them correctly, 100%.
Exactly.
I want to shout out a couple of people. Raymond Fowler said, "Peace and blessings, my brothers." Raymond Fowler is the father of Jarrell Garris, who was killed by the New Rochelle Police Department. He said, "Peace and blessings." Charles Stearns is tuned in, says hello. And a few other people are tuned in. I wanted to ask another question. I wanted to follow up on the question about the recruitment, about maintaining the officers. I know Yonkers Police Department and Yonkers Fire Department have come on Black Westchester when they do their recruitment, talking about the importance of joining those organizations. What is Mount Vernon doing to recruit people? I know, because you said, I know the test was small as far as Mount Vernon, the numbers are small for the Mount Vernon test. What is Mount Vernon, whether it's the police department, city hall, or whoever, doing to recruit people for the police department?
As far as I know, to their credit, the training department on occasions have gone through like the high school. The training department is led by Sergeant Lloyd, who has two detectives working with him, which is Dave Clark and Rasheem William. To their credit, they've gone to colleges, high school, different areas in the community, even outside of Mount Vernon, to recruit people to take the test. But as Master pointed out earlier, when you're looking at the pay rate, the pay scale for Mount Vernon compared to surrounding, municipalities, right? Why would you take the police department test in Mount Vernon? And if you do take it for Mount Vernon, you're only taking it until you get the experience to transfer somewhere else, which is one of the things the DOJ report pointed out. Nobody stays because the pay rate is so low. The DOJ report even pointed out that officers have complained that their vests, like they've had vests for 15 years, but because they're not making any money, they can't afford to buy a new vest or equipment. Yonkers give their officers everything when they come on the job.
Mm-hmm.
When a police officer comes into the Mount Vernon Police Department, you're out. You're out off the bat at least $7,000 because you have to buy everything. Mm-hmm. And who knows, the price might have went up because it was a while ago, but how do you afford anything? How do you that's why nobody's saying.
So let me.
I know the vest thing been an issue for a while. I know.
It's been an issue for a long time.
And Richie, we were talking to a white officer who had been on the job for a while, and we were talking about the vest, and he basically said his vest was 15 years old.
Well, let me explain something to you. Let me just say something about the vest issue, which is very dangerous. The lifespan of a police vest is only 5 years. So if you walking around with a vest on that's 15 years old and you take a shot, it's not going to work. No. It's not going to work. So you're literally putting yourself in danger wearing that vest if it's over 5 years old. Listen, and it's a shame that a police department. Everybody loves law enforcement. Get some grants. Call the feds, call whatever, get some money, and get you only got 160 of them. You could get 160. Like where is the common sense? Right? Where's the thinking out of the box?
They could use the $3 million they saved by being 40 officers down to buy vests if they wanted to.
Exactly. If you're going to do something, and the city needs to be accountable for where that money went.
I'd love to hear it.
Just for the record, because a lot of people are not up on everything that we're talking about. So when they make a budget every year, they budget for
208 officers in 2024.
Okay, so they budget for 208 officers. You currently have, what you said, 160?
161.
Okay, so the
47
budget,
officers down at a minimum salary of $50,000, like $2.3 million, not including benefits, which is like another $30,000 an officer. So you're talking over $3 million of unaccounted for funds that was supposed to be budgeted for the police department, and that's only for 2024. That doesn't include the previous years because we haven't been at 208 officers probably in 5 or 6 years. So where's that money?
So so they're saying that they're 50-something million behind in taxes, right?
Right.
And you've been running the police department 40 to 50 officers short for the last 4 years. Right,
and
that's 30 million a year. You shouldn't be in a default.
Right.
Well,
And they're raising the budget. They're raising the taxes 5% this year on $120-something million annual budget. The $3 million you're saving in the police department is about half of that 5%. So where's the community should be outraged on where that money actually is. And why the tax is being raised so high? Why are you going above the cap again if you just saved $3.5 million in your police department this year?
And when you're talking about money, like the mayor found it, right? There was enough money to give herself a raise, right? So why can't we get a raise? You know what I mean?
And not only that, according to the Journal News, not according to Black Westchester, because we didn't do a report on it. According to the Journal News, she's one of the highest paid mayors in Westchester County.
Now she is.
And yet the police department is the lowest paid in Westchester County.
Exactly.
So not only the police department.
just not the mayor. The low HUD report showed that the mayor, the city council, and the controller were among the lowest in the county.
And now they're among the highest.
Now they're at least of the top half or the higher paid.
If I'm not mistaken, the council, the comptroller, and the mayor are all in the top 2 or 3 in the county right now since the raise.
And again, let me be fair. We're not asking to be the highest paid, but we want to be in the ballpark with other municipalities when it comes to pay. And the problem is, it's not just the police department. You're also looking at the fire department, DPW, the water department. They're all underpaid. Mount Vernon is constantly building new buildings in the city, which increases the population of the city. But yet, next year, you're reducing the police department. Explain to me how we're supposed to protect the city with less cops when you're increasing the population.
Good point.
Services are not increasing.
And you're building so tall that the fire department don't got ladders to get up there.
They don't have any apparatuses to fight the fire.
The city is constantly working backwards. I don't get it.
Other municipalities that give these deals to developers include the fire equipment to be part of the package deal so they can fight a fire in a building. I believe that happened in New Rochelle.
That happened in Pelham. Pelham just got a brand new police department and fire department.
Right.
Exactly. And White Plains, forget about it. If you got to build in White Plains, you got to give them all type of candy. and the city gets it.
Right.
And the city gets it.
Why can't we do the same thing?
I have no clue because there's rumors, but the goal is what, right? Is and I've said it, and it's just not this administration. It's the 80-20 rule. You get 80% to the people, and the leadership takes 20. But in Mount Vernon, they switch it. Leadership takes 80% and they give the people 20%. And that's why the condition of the city has looked like. And people that run out here and vote need to wake up.
That's what this comment is saying. The community
That's a fact.
the community is not outraged. This is why this nonsense is happening. I wonder what does it take for the residents to say enough is enough? If the state of the city today isn't enough for the residents, what else does it take?
It is.
Honestly, I think a lot of the people in the city just aren't informed. I don't think a lot of
No,
people know
exactly.
what is actually going on, and I don't think they know about these tax breaks for these developers. I don't think they know or realize that the population's increasing and services are decreasing. And I think it's going to take getting out there and telling these people what's happening and having them understand what's happening to their city for them to wake up and actually, pay attention in upcoming elections because.
Vote.
I got another question from former one of our co-host Robert Baskerville, Dr. Bob. He said, while it's fair for the residents of Mount Vernon to hear discussions that explore how improvement to morale of officers can reduce officers' misconduct, I'd be curious to hear what kind of reforms beside pay increases to curb officers' misconduct.
Again, that starts with the top. So if you want to curb officers' misconduct, you have to implement the proper policies and the proper training so that way you can reduce the amount of misconduct. If you're implementing policies that are inadequate, that are antiquated, like you can't blame the officers. Everything starts at the top. So you have to look at the administration who's implementing those policies. That's the only way you're going to reduce it by updating the policies, by having better training. And again, the training unit, their hands are tied. They can only do with what they have. So if you don't have the resources and the proper policies, how are you going to change anything?
What did the DOJ report say about training? There was a big part about the training.
Inadequate training, lacks of resources for training, updating the policy to be more current, so that way officers know what to do when they go out there, having everything in writing, so that way they can have a guideline to look at and know what they're doing.
And they also pointed out the lack of experience in field training officers, a lot of them having just about 2 years on the job.
Correct.
See, I think one thing, and we've had this conversation, and we had this conversation on the county level, that it's time for Westchester County, and Westchester County always hides behind, we can only make recommendations. We can't force police departments to do this or to do that. Yeah, but you train them. Every police department in Westchester County, when they go through the academy, is Westchester County Department of Public Safety that does the initial academy and then sends everybody out to all their police departments. Now, if you are empowered to do that, you could also work to empower yourself to make sure that these officers are going to police departments that have proper policy. See, it's laziness on levels of government. It's complete laziness. And because these issues, when it comes up, it only happens to the poor communities of Westchester County. It don't happen in Scarsdale. Scarsdale is nationally accredited by CALEA. It doesn't happen in Rye and all that other stuff because they have the resources. It only happens in poor black, brown, and poor white communities in Westchester County.
So for those people that don't understand, what is CALEA? You said nationally accredited,
Right,
and what other departments in Westchester are accredited?
It's only one. it's only one. Let me get the correct name of CALEA, and let's be honest, the Westchester County public safety police academy is not even nationally accredited. CALEA is a national accreditation service. It's called the Commission on Commission Accreditation Law Enforcement Association. And what they do is they come into your police department and they audit everything. They audit your policies. They ride with you on calls. They do all that stuff. And then they say, okay, these are the things that you're failing in following a national standard of policing. And then once you get it, you apply to be nationally accredited, you become nationally accredited, meaning that you're running your police department higher than state minimum standards. You're running them at national standards. Now, there's a trick to that because you got to maintain those standards. Right? Dallas Police Department is nationally accredited. Miami-Dade. There's a lot of police departments that's nationally accredited. I knew a person that was a recruiter for Dallas Police Department. And let me tell you, if you come from a national accredited police department and you go to Dallas, you don't have to go through the academy. But if you come from a police department that's not nationally accredited, they don't trust your training. You have to go through training, even if you had 15 years on the job. So if you want to know where your police department stands, get an audit from CALEA.
So just for the record, again, for the Westchester County and the 43 municipalities, I mean, each don't have their own police department. Only Scarsdale is the only municipality law enforcement that is accredited by CALEA.
Yeah.
Nationally accredited.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let me see.
Wow.
Roll today of accreditation calls, public comment portal. I'm gonna try to see if Scarsdale's still on it. And you can accredit. And I've been challenging politicians. Now let's make it clear. I've challenged the county exec on national accreditation. Right? Now, Department of Corrections, we're nationally accredited. We're nationally accredited. That's why they get fired all the time up there. We're nationally accredited through the National Association of Corrections, blah 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 blah, right? But they're also for police department because you want your policies to be at a standard. You want your policies to be at a standard, and it gives and guess what comes with that? Grants. Right? A lot of federal grants come with that. So now you're helping your police department with resources. But the only way you're going to do it, you got to have leadership and that's going to think, that has to think out the box.
Just on what you're talking about, the Westchester County Police Academy is different than what you're talking about, correct? Because I don't believe the Westchester County Police Academy has, and again, I'm just guessing here, has the authority to come in once the officers leave the academy to go to their respective municipalities to do anything after that. It's up to that department to pick up the ball and move forward with it.
Right, but where's but there's not even recommendations. Right? The only recommendations that came from Westchester County was when Christopher Ridley got killed. That's the only recommendations that came from Westchester County, and we had to force them to do that. But still, it's up to the chiefs to even accept those policies. Because that's what I was told at the time. And let me tell you, the public safety commissioner at the time, he did that on his own. Because he came from NYPD, where black cops were being shot like Christmas trees. They were getting shot everywhere. So they already understood the problem. So he took what they did in NYPD and put it out for Westchester County. This is how we lower these incidents of black officers being shot. But guess what? It still had to be approved by the Chiefs Association. So,
Go ahead.
so the whole thing is they have to do their job, because it's like you go to training, like you might go to training in county police and your training's up here, and then you send them to local police department and their training's down there. Right? So they're like, yo, what the hell is going on? But I mean, they're not, nobody, the level of government, and then forget about the attorney general. She's supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer of the state. And remember when Cuomo made all the police departments do those reviews of their policy, and they were supposed to be sent to the attorney general, Tish James, and she did literally nothing with it. She did literally nothing. So this is a malfeasance of governance on every level in New York State.
And Governor Hochul didn't follow up on what Cuomo issued. So
Well, she didn't have to, because it was executive order. Once that governor's gone, the executive order disappears. He has to still be, and most likely he'll be the next New York City mayor. So it'll be a whole nother different story coming up.
For everybody who just tuned in and didn't tune in, this is Black Westchester Presents the People Before Politics radio show. As our guest this week, we have the current and former Mount Vernon Police Department PBA presidents, and we're talking about the state of the Mount Vernon Police Department and the DOJ investigation report results. I just want to, just so everybody knows because I see people just tuning in now, so they might not know what we're talking about. So,
David, you made a point in regard to Mount Vernon being poor, right? How is that when, and maybe I'm wrong, when the tax break is almost as high as the surrounding municipalities?
Almost as high. It's the highest.
So if it's higher, you have to beg the question, right? How is it that these other departments are able to pay their cops a fair salary? And throughout the years, I believe the last decent contract we had was under Richard Thomas, Mastro, which gave us like threes. That was the last time we had a decent contract, right? So where is that money? The question, I know we keep asking that question over and over again, but where is that money? Why can't you pay police department? Because
Mount Vernon's biggest failing, above anything else, is complete and total mismanagement. The money's there. They waste money. They hire, City Hall's hiring people all the time, creating new positions. All right, they're buying new cars for people that don't need them. Mismanagement of the tax money that they're collecting is why we're in the position we're in. And their answer to it every year, year after year, is to raise taxes above the cap. And that's all they've been doing. So where's the money? If you get into every department in this city, and clean house, I guarantee you there'll be more than enough money for your raises, more than enough money to run the city, and you won't have to do any tax raises, especially major ones that go above the cap. That's a fact.
And you had a history, you had a bad history of politicians making deals for themselves and not for the people.
Right.
I got another question from the.
Hold on one second.
Okay, go ahead.
And then you also allowed the county and state to move needy families into Mount Vernon, and then you got the politicians that allowed these people to build these high-rise buildings. Mount Vernon's nickname was the city of homes, not low-income housing. Right? So they make these politicians make these deals with these developers, and now you have a problem. You got the Lego house is a damn mental health facility over there by the train station, and you got people from Harlem, the Bronx. How do people from Mount Vernon benefit that when you got all these people from all over the boroughs in there? So what does that do? It puts a burden on the police department. It put a constant burden on the police department. And then the county doesn't say, hey man, we're gonna help y'all guys and get y'all more funding to deal with this. The county just goes about their business and think just because they built goddamn Memorial Field, they literally did something for the people of Mount Vernon. They ain't do a goddamn thing. They ain't do nothing. Memorial Field is not changing the condition of the city. The city ain't even got enough money to take care of the goddamn field.
Bob agrees with you with the accreditation. I wanted to read this. He said mandatory accreditation with CALIA is an excellent idea, but it's worth pointing out that many of America's institutions, including its colleges, must pass a mandatory accreditation to ensure they have well-qualified instructors to properly equip the facilities. Right now, both the colleges I work for, Bronx Community College and Westchester Community College, are undergoing mid-state accreditation review. If they don't pass the review, they are ineligible to receive federal funds.
Let me tell you something. I knew a couple of officers down in Miami-Dade, and when they lost their accreditation, you would have thought that the feds came in on them. They had to take the accreditation patches off their uniforms. They had to take them off the cars. They had to take anything that said national accreditation off until they ended up getting the accreditation back. It's not a game. And it's not a game when you're applying for it because they go through everything. They go through your training. They go through everything. And that's what's needed. I'm not saying that accreditation is the one and only thing that needs to be done, but it's part of the solution when you want proper policing in your neighborhood and you want proper policies in your police department. You know, and I sent you the link, Jay, so you could actually look at it. I texted to you so you could actually look at it, because that's something that they need to get done. And it will help them with the DOJ review because, you know, I mean, a report like that, and if you get a monitor, he's going to be there for another 10 years, especially if you got management that really don't want to change. And for them to basically falsify documents to the DOJ backdating something, I'm surprised nobody came out in cuffs. I'm really surprised nobody came out in cuffs. Because if it was me up in the DOJ and they submitted a false document, I'd have locked somebody up.
Did the DOJ know it was false? Did they know?
Yeah.
It's in their report.
It's in their report.
They backdated an order changing a policy. And they backdated it because it was discussed with the DOJ in July, and the DOJ was coming back in October. And the day before the DOJ got there, they created the policy, printed it, posted it, and dated it in July.
Oh,
and
they got caught.
And we pointed it out to the DOJ, and they weren't that smart about it because the date said July, but the file said created October 22nd. The date.
Wow! Shout out to we have a new listener, I think, for the first time. Westchester County Democratic Chair Suzanne Berger is tuned in. I think that's her first time I've seen her tune in. So shout out to her. But so where do we go? Explain to the residents. So where do we go from here? The DOJ is here. They released this report. I know most people have not read the report and don't know what's in the report. What's next? What's the next step now? What's next?
Well, that's out of our hands, unfortunately. If I was in charge, what would be next would be a complete change at the top. The leadership, the people responsible for some of the things that happened in that report, they would be accountable for those items, and we would have to put new leadership in charge, forward-thinking leadership that wants to really change the face of policing in Mount Vernon. And that's the way I would handle it.
And we do have that, though. We have a lot of...
We have them there. They're just not in charge.
Exactly. And how are you going to move forward when you say you're going to hire more supervisors, But on the other hand, you cut hiring supervisors to patrol the street and supervise the young officers.
They did opposite what the report is requesting.
Exactly. They did the complete opposite. And they have yet to rescind that order.
Wow.
So I don't know how we move forward if they're contradicting everything they say in public, but in private they do something completely different.
Well,
The
that's
DOJ report, does it say what's next? What they're going to do next? Like you said, a monitor. What is there going to be? Does it?
No, it doesn't say that. It just points out the deficiencies of the department, right?
And 10 things that need to be improved.
Right, and why they have those deficiencies. So the department, I guess they're leaving it up to the department to fix it. But as I mentioned to you earlier, we have yet to sit down as a union to talk either to the department or the mayor regarding this report.
Is there
Look.
expiration date on when this stuff needs to be fixed?
Not in the report.
I don't
No,
believe
no,
so.
they have to. They're going to have to come to some type of MOU, a memorandum of understanding, and like, who knows, right? Because you have a whole new administration coming in. Damian Williams already announced his resignation. When the Trump administration comes in, he already said he's leaving. So we're still it's like unsure of what direction that is going to take, because you're going to have a whole new office in the Southern District of New York, and you're going to have a whole new attorney general, so like it's up in the air, but it's never up in the air for the people of Mount Vernon, right? That's the key is the people of Mount Vernon to hold their city accountable to this report and make sure that the corrections in this report will take in effect, and that the city has a responsibility to follow through with this report. So, we're not gonna know, because Damian Williams announced that he's leaving. And I think he should, because he's on the radar, for the bold political stuff with Trump. So it's good. He's doing the right thing and getting up out of there. So, you're not going to know, because we won't know until they announce who is the Southern District Attorney General for New York State, and figure out which way they're going to follow this report. They might get lucky, right? It might fall to the right side. That's why.
What I was going to ask. Is there a possibility that the new administration does nothing to follow?
Absolutely.
That
That's
is
why
a
we're having
possibility.
this
But
show.
the city should still be implementing these changes. I mean, at the end of the day, the Southern District came in and told you what's wrong.
Exactly.
They basically echoed a lot of what we've been saying all along. And now it's incumbent on the city. It doesn't matter what the DOJ does.
The people have to step up. The
Right.
people have to stay on it.
The citizens of Mount Vernon, they should be on top of this, and they should be demanding from their leadership that a lot of these changes get implemented and that their police department gets fixed.
Truth be told, we don't need to wait for outside agencies to
Right.
come in. This is something that the city can take pride in itself and correct.
Right.
Right? And that's the problem, because we're always waiting for people to come from outside to lend a hand when we can do it ourselves. And the problem that bothers me, why can't we do it? Everybody else does it, but we can't do it in Mount Vernon.
They wrote the outline. All we got to do is follow it.
There's a saying, God helps those who help themselves. Like, if you're not going to do it, like, nobody's going to come in and do it for you. If it's not a priority for you, why should we come in and fix your issues if it's not a priority for you? So it has to be a priority for not only our leadership, it has to be a priority for our residents. With a lot of the things going on in Mount Vernon, the school district, everything, the residents have to. It has to be a priority for the residents. Like I think John said, when is enough going to be enough for the residents, where they just are fed up, and when is it you're going to be sick and tired of being sick and tired and demand better,
Right.
and we don't have that right now. I mean, and that's not just with the police department, that's with the school district, and that's with every institution in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
That we don't have I'm sorry, and I know that everybody in leadership is pissed when I say this. We do not have any functioning institution in Mount Vernon. Every our library is even. Look at the things that we're going on with our libraries. Like
You
no
see,
other city is work. No other city is dealing with what we're dealing with. Most cities don't even know who their library trustees are because it works. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like they don't have these issues. Like and it's like we don't have one functioning institution in Mount Vernon. And until the people step up, it's not going to be.
Not gonna change.
No outside institution is going to do it. No politician is going to do everything that needs to be done until it's demanded from the residents and to the voters until they demand this. And I don't know how any other way. I keep saying I don't know any other languages. I don't know how else to say this. We've been saying this for 10 years now. I don't know how else to say it. You don't have this issue. John said in one of his comments, all, White Plains, Yonkers, New Rochelle, and all these other municipalities also get trained by by the county, but they don't have the problems in their police departments we do. You kind
they don't, they all have problems. They just don't come to Black Westchester.
no, but you don't hear about it in the news.
No, right, exactly.
You don't hear about.
Good point, AJ.
It's not as bad. I mean, it's
Right.
like everything we do is out there, and that's one thing. But it can't be the county's fault if every other police department is not also dealing with what we're dealing with. At some point,
Right.
you have to look. Some of this is our leadership.
Oh,
Some
absolutely.
of this is our elected
Absolutely.
officials. Some of this is our MVPD leadership. And I wanted to say one more thing. I've done a lot of interviews and I've covered a lot of criminal justice reform rallies. And, I speak to a lot of the people that are fighting for criminal justice reform. The things that they are demanding nationwide, Mount Vernon has. They're fighting for more persons of color in their elected officials' leadership. We have that. We have a black mayor, mostly black city council. They're fighting for more persons of color, more black and brown people in leadership positions in their police department. We have that. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things other people are demanding and calling out for, we have here. And we still don't have it right. Like, what's you know what I'm saying? What's the problem? People are fighting for what we have. You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
There's a New Rochelle sergeant, and I'm not going to say his name. He said to me, he said, "Man," he says, "Do you know that there are cops that never saw a black commissioner, a black chief, a black lieutenant? Like they never saw one. Mount Vernon has had them.
a black mayor.
They've had them. I came when I started in '90. I came under Commissioner Jackson. And it was a sense of responsibility and pride because of the way he carried himself, right? And he demanded
The one and only black commissioner of corrections,
right? And we ain't seen one since, right? But the way he carried himself, and the way he demanded, us to be young black men, he demanded no less. But you can't do that and just be foolery, right?
Well, Mount Vernon has been hands down, and to the credit of the training division, who goes through the process of the background check and pretty much assisting the hiring. It's the most diversified police department, I believe, hands down in Westchester County.
Probably anywhere. Not only Westchester, but
Right.
almost anywhere.
So the problem lies, we can't keep nobody here.
Exactly. No,
That's the problem. We can't keep nobody here.
And that's what I'm saying. You have to have excellence, right? Leadership has to promote leadership, and City Hall has to promote excellence for those people to stay, even if it's bad, right? Even if you're going through some rough time, like not getting paid or whatever, you still seeing your leadership like, yo, I'm gonna stick it out for Commissioner so and so, because I know what he's doing.
It's
right?
funny you mentioned not getting paid. In the
Leaders that
DOJ
inspire.
report, right? In the DOJ report, it says that I believe it was 2022 where the new recruits went 6 weeks without getting paid.
Yeah, I remember. Well, yeah, we all remember that. But that's the mismanagement of the city. That's the total mismanagement of the city. And the question is to the pastors, to the local organizations that's in the city, and everybody else. When are you going to demand change? You know what I'm saying? Or are you too worried about what you're getting from City Hall and not worried about the operations of the city? You too worried about getting favor with the mayor. I'm talking to the pastors. I'm talking straight to the pastors. Instead of holding City Hall accountable for your public safety, because the same people that this report was talking about pays tithes to your church, pastors. They pay tithes to your church. So when are you going to be a part of the change? It's just not on City Hall, bro. It's on the leadership in Mount Vernon. Because they're not making the phone call to City Hall and saying, yo, man, you got to get this right. You got to get this right. The calls that they're making is, how can I get permits to get my building built to put more poor people in it? I'm just keeping it 100 because guess what? If the city don't get right, it ain't gonna be no city no more. They're 50 million in the hole.
59, I believe.
59 million in the hole. So it has to get right, and we have to have these real conversations about it.
Dr. Bob said, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Dr. Bob said, in my view, that accurate oversight of the Mount Vernon Police Department must include independent oversight agency that has the power to investigate and punish law enforcement officers who violate the residents' basic constitutional right. What does such an agency belong? Where does such an agency belong in the reforms now being considered?
There's no agency in that, because there's no agent. They're not here. The DOJ report is not a criminal investigation. It's not a criminal investigation. It's up to the city to negotiate with the police department, or it's up to the city itself to go on itself to have some type of CCRB that's backed by another national organization of police oversight. And there's a process through complete police complaints to bring an investigation on an officer, not the department, on an officer, if that officer is violating policies, procedures, and training. It's still up to the people. But you got city council people talking about, we created a CCRB, but it's not funded. You don't need $1 billion to fund a CCRB. Majority of times, you can find people that will just volunteer to be on the Civilian Complaint Review Board. And it's not saying officers are guilty. It's just a process of accountability and transparency. Because the DOJ report said, 8% discipline out of all. That's because you don't have proper oversight of the disciplinary process or a CCRB that will follow through. And if they feel what happens, they feel that it's messed up, then they send it off to the district attorney or the state AG, or they'll send it back to the criminal division of the DOJ. But it has to come. It still has to come from the people. Has to come from the people that demand their elected officials to do something about it, instead of sitting on the board and giving yays and nays about a bunch of fucking nonsense. that doesn't move the city forward.
At the risk of sounding a little biased here, the officers that goes out there, right? They are following policies.
Mm-hmm.
They are following policies that was implemented by the administration. So when people are saying these officers are violating their rights, right? They are following the policies that the department told
Department
them to
administration
go
is the one
out there
violating.
and follow. So
No, right, and that
And that's
makes
where we want to see the accountability.
right.
Exactly.
I
So,
agree.
you know, they're in the front line. Yeah, they're taking the blunt of it, but nobody's holding the administration account because they're the one that put those policies out for these officers to go out and follow. So I get it. Yeah. And the report, it says they go through a whole list of stuff that the officers did wrong, right? But at the same time, they're telling you the reason why these officers did a lot of the stuff wrong is because of the policies that was implemented by the administration and the lack of training. So the only way you fix that, like Master says, is to change the whole top.
You change the whole city hall because it comes out of city hall. It has always come out of city hall, right? Mount Vernon's structural government is known as a strong mayorship, right? It's known as a strong mayorship. It comes from the mayor. Ernie knew it. Clinton knew it. Blackwood knew it. Blackwood knew it. They all knew it. You know, so at the end of the day, it doesn't change. It doesn't change who's in the seat. It's the power of the seat.
Right.
That's why New Rochelle has a city manager to take the power out of the mayor's hands. The city manager is the one who.
Yeah, but that ain't so great neither.
No. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying
because you can't vote out the city manager.
Right. I'm just saying that's why they did.
You could do other things to spread the power evenly, like have like advise and consent for hiring people like the police commissioner and other important positions. And you put some power in the council so the mayor doesn't have complete authority. I think if you have that, you'll solve a lot of these problems.
I think they were trying to fight for that before. We definitely did some stories.
Yeah, but Ernie told the secret. Right? Ernie told the secret one day.
As long as
I got 3 on the city council, I do whatever the fuck I want to do. And that went to Richie, and that it's Sister Sean. Long as she got 3 that's going to follow her, it will never move. Nothing will never move.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? I mean, hey, listen.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, things have to change in order for it to get better. And we got to empower the people. And this is not a knock on none of the fine officers that's in the police department. And if you've been there for 2 years, I apologize that we didn't do our job as the community, right, to correct this bullshit that's going on around the police department. Right. But a lot of people have been out there screaming to the top of their lungs, you know, that things need to change. And nobody wanted to change it, you know. And now that the DOJ report is out, you know, it's not the new officers are taking the blunt for it because they're the ones most connected to the public.
Right.
You know, and it's not fair, right? And then it makes us look bad as black people. Like, how we running around talking about Black Lives Matter and we got a black city violating black people? None of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. And maybe if the mayor will come on the show and help us make it sense. Because this is her second term. This is her second term, and she was chief of staff under Richie. So none of this is new. It's not new. So the question is, we know it's went on for years, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to give what are you going to tell the public? What steps are you going to make? What steps are you going to make change? How are you going to invest in the police department? How are you going to make sure that these officers are not walking around with expired bulletproof vests when all these damn shootings is going on in the city? Every night it's crackle, crackle, pop, pop. And then you got officers out here with expired vests. What are you going to do? Who's the grant writer? It's a lot of grants out here. With the crime rates in Mount Vernon, you could get a lot of money. Just putting the rates in the grants. They're going to throw you some money. But the question is, what you going to do with the money when you get it?
Well, that's always been the question. Like, the city has received money from the government. Where's that money? Where's that money? It's not coming to the police department because in the DOJ report, it says, as a matter of fact, I believe Glenn Scott even said it, that they're not paying the bills, that they couldn't afford cartridges for tasers. So where is that money? It's all in the DOJ report. Also, all the people have to do is take the time to read, I believe, the 35 pages. It's all in there. So where is that money? It even said that the 911 went down, like I forgot what year it was, like 2 or 3 times. There was no 911. How does that work? It's all in the report. All they have to do is read it. I'm not making it up.
Wow.
So Damon said, when is the mayor going to come on? So in the new year, we officially extend an invitation to the mayor to come on to address the state of the city and have a conversation with us. And I will initiate a phone call to try to make that happen. So just so we, because I mean, you did say, when will she come on to speak on this her second term? I will extend an official invitation and for the new year, and we'll
And we want a police commissioner to come on too.
yes, absolutely.
And the chief.
Just for the record, David, I remember like when we spoke, right? What did I say to you? What did I say? I said, you know what? Me and Mastro are gonna be on, right? Have her come on so we could have that full conversation.
Sure.
So that way we can put it all out there.
Right.
It would have been good to invite her to this show. I do agree. I do agree.
He said we can do it again.
No, the reason I say that is because, like, if she's not here, right,
Right.
she's not gonna be able to defend herself or give a response to what we're saying, right? And people might feel it's one-sided. So if you have everybody here at the same time, right, let the people decide who's telling the truth and who's not.
John said put on Facebook, and believe me, she would come on. John, as you know, you're watching this on Facebook, so it is on Facebook. So
listen, they're watching, right? And they might not watch live, but they're watching. But and this is not attacking. We want Mount Vernon to be the best police department in Westchester County.
For sure.
Like straight music, and everybody knows my wife worked there, but everybody knows I have no shut-off button with policing. Policing is in my DNA, man. I come from a family of policing. My cousin right now, right, is the public safety secretary for the state of North Carolina, Eddie Buffalo. I come from policing. My family comes from I just went to corrections because I like to fight. That's the only reason I went to corrections. I could have been a police officer. I went to corrections because I like to fight.
And there was a lot of that back in the early 90s.
And in the 90s, it was nothing but fighting, right? It changed now, but in the 90s, it was nothing but fighting. So that's why I went in corrections. I could have been a White Plains cop. But I didn't want to be a cop. I went into corrections because some of my family came out of corrections. So I went in corrections. But the whole thing is, policing is in my DNA. Law enforcement is in my DNA. So we want to see proper policing. We want to see police officers producing that type of excellence. And Mount Vernon has an opportunity. Mount Vernon of any other city has an opportunity to do it. But we playing too many reindeer games, man. Nobody got time for that.
And just for the people who might be listening or watching this who don't know, both Master and I are from Mount Vernon, right? I grew up in Mount Vernon, went through the whole school system in Mount Vernon. My brother's a lieutenant in the fire department. So we here not to bash the administration. We care. Okay,
We want
it
it to be better.
bothers,
We want the
it
city to be
bothers
what it
me
can be.
that I grew up in this city,
For
right?
sure.
And I'm working in this city, and I'm seeing what's happening in the police department, and we're yelling and screaming and asking for change, and we can't get that. So what we're doing is trying to figure out a way, to bring those changes to the police department.
You know, it's funny you said that. So I was born here. I moved away, came back, went to high school here. I've been here most of my life. When we started Black Westchester, what we would hear from the city hall mostly, and a lot of people, we're making Black Westchester is making Mount Vernon look bad by writing these stories about what was going on in Mount Vernon. It's funny, most of the stories that they had a problem with us writing are the cases that the DOJ addressed in its report. Every case that they address is something we actually did stories on. The strip search, all of those things, we did stories on it, and we was accused of making Mount Vernon look bad. The funny thing is, even by the people, and that's the problem I had with the residents. You have a problem with me reporting it, and
Yeah,
I'm making Mount Vernon look bad. But the people that are doing the wrong things, how are they not making Mount Vernon look
right.
like I'm making it look bad by calling them out? Like, you know what I'm saying? We see that before
Crazy.
Black Westchester, it was to go along, get along, don't put the bad news out, just write the good news. The Mount Vernon Inquirer just did all the events and stuff like that, didn't really call stuff out. That wasn't working. That never changed nothing. Nothing
Right.
got changed. Like that didn't
And to your point, like what a lot of people don't understand, prior like to I know people had issues with Mastro putting stuff out on social media, but what a lot of them don't understand is before he got to that point, or before he got to the point that I'm sitting here talking to you guys now, is we've reached out to the administration
We've exhausted every other option to try to fix a problem.
numerous times
Right.
trying to resolve this so that way we wouldn't be here today. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So when we keep meeting with you and you keep lying
Dis-
and you keep like having amnesia,
Disregard.
at some point you leave us no choice but to be here so everybody could hear it. Maybe once it's out there, maybe then they'll change something. So it's not like let's go to the media and put it out there. Several steps were taken to resolve these issues before we got to where we are. So I just want people to understand that. You
Same
know,
thing, same thing with Black Westchester. That's why every editorial I wrote, it said, Ernie, we've discussed this several times. Richie, we discussed this several times. Like, I had several conversations with them in their office, at a gathering, wherever, to discuss these things. And if I keep going to you and you're not addressing them, then I'm going to report. But we didn't just report first. We had long conversations, even with the party. A lot of stories said, Reggie, we had these conversations. We discussed these things with all these people over and over and over and over. And then I just got fed up and was like, I wrote an editorial because, like I felt like my concerns were falling on deaf ears.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? I tried every other way. I joined the NAACP and for the criminal justice part to have another hat to fight for this stuff. And I'm very disappointed in hearing that the wellness division is going to close and that the residents. If you didn't tell me, I would know because we're going to call another meeting with the NAACP about that. And we wanted to follow up on how the success of that was and see the data and how many cases that it helped as opposed to
Yeah, well,
you know,
well, I'm
we
going
wanted
to
to do
suggest
that,
something to the NAACP since you're the VP,
okay.
and also inquire why did the head of the wellness was forced to resign?
It's a
In
great
addition,
question.
in addition to the mayor, people
That's
before
one of the greatest injustices in that department in the past few years is forcing her to resign. I promise you that.
Bob said, in addition to the mayor, we might want to consider inviting members from the CBOs. What is the CBOs? Who
I
might
don't know
who might want to offer suggestions on the
who's
reforms they like to see.
a
And
CBO.
yes, Bob, please explain what CBOs stand for. I'm not sure what that is. And the reforms that they like to see in Mount Vernon going forward. Um, Shout out to everybody who's tuning in. A lot more people are tuning in. You watching Black Westchester present to people for a politics radio show. We're covering the results of the Mount Vernon Police Department, the DOJ's investigation into the Mount Vernon Police Department. We have the current and the former Mount Vernon Police Department PBA presidents. We're addressing some of the issues here today. So thank you for tuning in, as you always do. And a lot of you, some of you, I'm seeing new names that have never tuned in before. Raymond Fowler said, I commend you guys for standing for change in Mount Vernon within the police department and the community. And again, that is the father of Jarrell Garris, who was killed by the New Rochelle Police Department. You know what I'm saying? Who's
We appreciate that. There's a lot of stuff that the PBA does in the community that maybe a lot of people don't know. We've done, and a lot of it is led by the PBA and also Dave Clark. What we do is we give out clothing, food, turkeys. We have your wife just had a Christmas party, for the kids and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff we do. We go to the schools, like we read to the kids in the classroom. So like we're asking for the people in the community that we're helping out to like stand up and pay attention to what's going on. And hopefully that will help change, the mentality of those in the administration about making this a better department.
I commend you on the reading. We just did that this week too with NAACP. We just read to the kids. I read the 4 classes, me and Nesta at Graham. So I'm trying to get involved in a little bit of that. Bob said CBO stands for community-based organizations, other activists and other and organizers.
I mean, they could meet.
No, it's instead of just having the mayor on, how about having some of them on about talking about the reforms they'd like to see in Mount Vernon going forward? That's what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but we will have to. I mean, you got it. At this point, at this point in the game, right? She should have been doing that a long time ago. She should have been doing that when Jesse was having all these press conferences, calling for change, supporting law enforcement, and also calling for change in the department. Let's not act like Jesse hasn't been doing it. He's been out on the forefront, even doing it. Nas Duncan has been out on the forefront, demanding change, because of the lack of or the investigation of her son's death
and unsolved homicides. It was the Mount Vernon Families for Change,
Right.
Mount Vernon Families for Justice that they created.
So there's been people out there, but there hasn't been any response. It hasn't been any response. So now you have to now after this report. Like you have to, and don't think that. And let me be clear. Don't think DOJ is not watching, right? Don't think they're not. Someone's not watching the show, because they are watching the show.
Another comment. Vincent says, "I was on the mayor's police reform committee. We never met after it ended. We were never advised what, if any, of our recommendations were made policy."
Oh, well, there it is.
There you go. There you go. That says it all. That says it all.
Look, show's over. He just ended the show.
What was that? Mic drop? Mic drop?
Yeah, pretty much. And he's right. He's right. Which is the frustration that we have. You meet, you have discussions, right? You set up another day to come back.
We met multiple times with the police reform committee. They issued that report, and I believe at the time under Cuomo's mandate, they had a certain amount of time to implement those changes. And Vin, I'll advise you now, I don't think any of those changes were implemented, so it never happened. Nothing from that report was actually put into place.
And it wasn't, because they said it hasn't been updated since 1993 to 2022, 23. So
Right.
it wasn't updated.
Right.
I want to give a shout out to Joe Murray, who represented the officer who was known as the whistleblower officer, which is another thing that criminal justice people have been fighting for. We want our good cops to speak out on what the bad cops are doing, and we actually had that too in Mount Vernon. So I'm like, everything that they've been talking about everywhere else around the country that they are fighting for, we have in large. We have all these things, so we should be the epitome of police reform. Like we should be. And
Joe, what's happening, Joe?
yeah. He said the DOJ never talked to Bovell though. They never contacted him.
Oh well.
But he also said we couldn't have done what we did without you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know, it's funny, like the department, I remember when 21st Century Policing came out, and then retired now, Sergeant Carpenter was one of the lead people who kept pushing for 21st Century, right? And the department kept saying, oh yeah, we're doing 21st Century, we're doing 21st. They couldn't be further from the truth.
Damon kept calling that out. Damon kept calling that out.
Nothing that they're doing, that's 21st Century. Steady Tour is part of like 21st Century, and you refuse to implement it. Wellness, right? That's part of the 21st Century. Where is it for the officers? Come on,
Look, it's all in writing, right?
Yes.
I mean, and that's the crazy thing about it. You don't have to be a doctorate of law, right? Or have all these college degrees, right? It's already written. It's already written. You just gotta apply it. And this is what and it's just not Mount Vernon. There's even other police departments. It's even Westchester County. When we was on the police and management task force for Westchester County, right? The recommendations that they came out of Westchester County was damn near the same of the recommendations that came out of Westchester County in 1992. In 1992. So nothing has changed. The only thing that's changed is that these politicians are not implementing the recommendations.
So you gotta ask yourself why.
Exactly.
Why? Because it benefits everybody. It benefits the department and it benefits the community. Because when you have officers who are like mentally prepared, well trained, have adequate resources or equipment, you're gonna have a better cop out on the street.
Yep.
And well supervised.
Well, you gotta hire us. So
Exactly.
we can supervise.
No,
you can't cut and say you're not hiring.
And that's part of the thing. You have to it's like an onion. You just got to peel layers. You got to address every layer of it until you get to the core. Right, and if you're not willing to address every layer, it's not going to work. Right, you just can't. Oh, I'm just changing some policies, and then you don't have the proper training of the. You got to have proper training of the supervisors to make sure that they know how to supervise.
Again, that's something the DOJ report says. Lack of training. Once a sergeant goes to, I believe it's 2 weeks, Mastro.
3 weeks.
3 weeks at the academy. Right? There's no more training. For lieutenants, there is no training for lieutenants.
There's no training for lieutenants.
No, you become a lieutenant, and then that's it. So, again, where's the funding? Where's the money that you're supposed to have in place for when you promote a lieutenant, where they continuously get that education, that training? You send them away, right, to become better supervisors. There is none of that.
None of that.
But wow. Yeah,
I'm still stuck on the loss of the wellness. That I thought that was a good idea. No, but a lot of what you're talking about is the wellness of officers as well. That was a part of that, and we can't go back. I mean, I'm sure they did some good work. They wasn't able to do everything they wanted to do, but we can't go backwards and lose that. Like I thought that was a good step forward. You know what I'm saying? And again, if y'all hadn't told me, I would not know. So the residents don't know about this.
No,
they only make it a habit to promote the things that they want to promote to make themselves look good. They're not going to tell you about the wellness closing down. But they made a big press conference when they started it.
No, well, I'm glad you told me, because I'm going to make us think about that. And I'm going to bring that up, not just as Black Westchester, but the conversation that they met with us as the president and the vice president of NAACP about what they were doing with the wellness. They had us meet in the mayor's office about all that, and I'm gonna demand another meeting, and we gotta address this.
Hey,
I will be addressing this, and I took some time off. I'm gonna just say right now, and just like Jesse has some health issues, and this stuff will beat you down. You know what I'm saying? So I took some time off. I ain't stopped. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little healthier now. I lost some weight. I got a little more energy right now. Yo, I'm coming back with a vengeance in 2025. Like I'm getting back on this stuff. Just because we haven't brought this stuff up don't mean that we forgot. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes we do have to step away from it because this being on the front line all the time and dealing with all this, it sometimes it's rough for your health. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I was in and out the hospital in the whole nine, and Jesse just had his situation that he had to deal with, and he's healing, and wishing him speedy recovery and all that. But you're gonna see Jesse come back with a vengeance in a minute too. We're not just because we haven't been speaking on it does not mean that we have forgot and we have got quiet, and we're gonna galvanize everybody we can galvanize and we're gonna get back on this. I got a lot more energy right now, so I can be a lot more places right now, and it's about to be things got to think we have to fight for what we want. I keep saying in the history of all the things that we got and civil rights and all this other stuff, that no establishment, no government ever gave our people anything because it was the right thing to do. We got it because it was a pain in the ass. We kept fighting for it. We kept fighting for it. We kept fighting for it. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, that's the job. You know what I'm saying? And we gotta, and I hate to keep quoting what Obama said, we gotta be the change we want to see. We gotta fight for. Me and Damon was saying, I'm tired of fighting for people that I'm not talking about people, but people we joined their fight to stand. And then when the rocks started coming, why I'm the only one getting hit? Where the
There you
people?
go. There you go.
This was your fight. I was supposed to be standing with you, not fighting for you. I'm not going to be fighting for people who won't fight for themselves, not the people who can't, but the people who won't. And I say that to say that's what Mount Vernon is right now. People who won't fight for themselves. And right. No one is going to fight for you if you're not going to fight for yourself. You understand what I'm saying? And this is my call. This is my to the residents. You know what I'm saying? To the voters, to the people of Mount Vernon. You know what I'm saying? You have to be involved.
Hey, JJ, let me ask you a question. So when did they, I'm not going to say she because I don't know, when did they decide to close out the wellness? Because in the response to the DOJ, she mentioned of the wellness department.
That was a decision that I believe was made a while ago because what they did is, so for just transparency, I was part of the wellness division, right? So in the summertime, they dismantled the wellness division because they said they were short on coverage for the summertime. Now, mind you, this is something that the police department goes through every year. So how you fail to properly staff for the summertime is a whole other question, right? So they put the lieutenant back in patrol. They put me back in patrol, and they put the other officers, with the exception of one that stayed there by herself, right, to work the full 12. We went back to patrol to help with staffing, right? We were told that we would be going back in September, right? September was approaching. I sent an email to the administration and said, hey, September's coming. Am I going back to wellness? No answer. No answer. September comes. I'm still here. I'm still out of wellness. The lieutenant goes back, but yet she's the only one there by herself working. How does that work? And then we're told, because the lieutenant is retiring, that they have nobody to man wellness. So I'm not going to be there. The other officer that was working is going back to patrol, and I believe another officer is going back to the detective.
So, and how long ago was that?
I would say probably about 4 months ago. Like,
So what was the reason for her to announce that they created the wellness department in her response to the D? And listen, I didn't say it. They said it.
maybe they created a wellness division in City Hall, but I know. No, I'm being serious. I'm being serious because there's no wellness division. That office on Gramerton Avenue that everybody knows and come to is going
Right.
to be empty.
Wow.
So
But and that was a great idea, and it could have flourished into a blueprint for police departments to do nationally. Especially with the height of mental health and mental crisis and everything.
A lot of departments started copying that wellness
right,
division as soon as
Yeah,
it was implemented.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it obviously was a good idea that was getting traction other places.
I mean the recognition that Lieutenant Mann and DC Lacker brought to the department because of the wellness division
Right.
is like crazy. Like people throughout the state were calling her, reaching out to Lieutenant Mann to see how they can implement it. She's received numerous accommodations throughout the community for the work that Lieutenant Mann, like she has done. So when you talk about wellness, you can Lieutenant Mann and wellness go hands in hand.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because pretty much, though DC Lacker was the one that came with it, but Lieutenant Mann was the face of wellness. Because everywhere you went, people were like Lieutenant Mann, Lieutenant Mann. So we got recognition all over the state. But here we are now.
Wow. Man, I'm speechless, man. I don't even know what to say after that, bro. Like this is like I really don't, man, because you have it, and then you announce it like it was implemented in response. Just watch I just tell people just watch the response, and if you see what I saw and what I understood, and I didn't even know at the time that this was going down with the wellness thing, but
If y'all hadn't brought that up, I would still not know.
right. And if you don't have a
And
wellness,
if we don't know, the average resident of Mount Vernon doesn't know.
what do you need a wellness commissioner for? I'm just because I'm just asking.
So wait, so they're cutting the wellness division, but she will still be the wellness commissioner?
Well, what other experience do she have?
That's above my pay grade.
No, well, I'm just asking. I'm responding to AJ because from my understanding, when she was brought there, that was the purpose, and which it was a good purpose. But now that you're cutting the wellness division, like what is going to be the purpose? That's all I'm saying. What is going to be the purpose? Because the purpose was for to make sure that the police department had that type of department and was doing that in the community. And I'm not knocking nobody. We're just talking X's and O's. That's it. X's and O's.
And to her credit, she did a great job, though.
No, and I'm not taking nothing away from her.
No, and I'm not taking nothing away from her either. And
we're talking about
I'm going to be reaching out to her.
How are you utilizing your police department for the benefit of the community? So if that's going away, what is the replacement? And how is that going to help the city that's damn near that's in crisis, a city that's been dumped with a lot of mentally ill people that have psychiatric needs, right? And you had something, and you forced the head of it out, and now you have nothing. But you responded that was something that was established to work around the DOJ report. I didn't say it. It's on YouTube.
And
I'm not lying. It's on YouTube.
One
So
of the things that people don't understand with the Wellness Division was that we had other resources, right, from around Westchester County come
right.
into our office. So if someone was in crisis, right, like let's say the sector call goes out to a job and it was someone that was in crisis, right? You didn't have to call a number and talk to somebody and say, hold on, let me connect you. They would call us, and that person would have immediate assistance, right? Because the resources we had could provide to that person whatever help they needed. What are you gonna do now?
No, and that's what I'm saying. And if New Rochelle had if New Rochelle had a wellness department, that young man would still be alive today, because it wouldn't be a police officer responding. It would be the wellness department to bring someone down that was having a mental crisis. They wouldn't have to call Westchester County and be transferred to the crisis prevention center. Y'all had one in the city.
And also, like, the training that Lackard and men got us was like unbelievable, because we constantly stayed on top of all the new stuff that were coming out. We would go to training, like whether it was monthly or however, every training that came out, they made sure we were on top of it. So you weren't just dealing with cops that worked the street, you were dealing with cops that knew what they were doing in order to help the people that were in crisis.
Right. We argued that on the county level, on the police remanagement task force, that every cop in Westchester County should be trained in crisis management, because you wouldn't have these incidents. A lot of these incidents is because the cops are just not trained to deal with somebody that's mentally ill. Kenneth Chamberlain Sr., there's been a couple of incidents, 2 in New Rochelle, where people got killed because they didn't know how to de-escalate someone that was having a mental crisis, and what Mount Vernon was doing was ahead of the game.
Ahead of the time.
It was ahead of the game. It definitely was ahead of the game, because other than that, corrections is the only people that are trained every year to deal with mental crisis, because we got a lot of crazy people locked up. That's the new mental institution, is your county jail. That's a mental institution.
They closed the institutions, and they made the county jail Arkham Asylum.
Exactly. It's crazy. The people, and I know for a fact, because I used to help the nurse give out medication. And the thing is, if you see them crush the medication, before it was like one housing area where everybody got crushed medication. So that's how you know they crazy as hell. The nurse crushed the medication, give it to them. They got to open up your tongue and do all that, and cheeks and all that, so they won't sell it or whatever. Now it's damn near every block. Young men and women taking some type of mental medication, and if we got to deal with it in there, we know police are dealing with it in the street. I could just drive down the street and see a whole bunch of crazy motherfuckers,
and they're not trained for that.
Exactly.
So you're putting more on the police. You're putting something on the police
that they're not trained
for. And that's not fair to the police, but the police is the only 24-hour agency to respond to these things. Because even some places that I see that have some of these, they have regular hours till, you know what I'm saying? But it's like a lot of this stuff happens after hours,
right,
in the middle of the night. And the police department traditionally is the only 24-hour agency to respond to this kind of stuff. But you're not training the police to deal with it.
No, it was good. It was excellent that y'all had it. Astorino knocked the crisis intervention team from Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Like, really, bro? Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
So nothing happens on the weekends and at night. Yeah.
I just like want to give a lot of credit to like the men and women of the Mount Vernon Police Department,
Absolutely.
including the ESU unit, because they respond to calls like that.
Exactly.
And for their ability, and a lot of people don't know and they don't give them credit. So which is why I'm saying it. Like considering what we deal with in the city of Mount Vernon, these young men and women, including ESU, are able to go on those calls and de-escalate a lot of the situation without the proper training.
Mm.
So, like, I have to give them credit because, like, it could be a whole lot worse knowing some of the population that we deal with in Mount Vernon.
And especially Mount Vernon being a dumping ground for everybody.
Right.
It's being a dumping ground for all the other municipalities. Get rid of their homeless, their people, their mental, their poor community. Like, and Mount Vernon is a dumping ground, and it traditionally has been a dumping ground for a while. Before Eric Adams, who was the mayor before? De Blasio. De Blasio was busing homeless people to Mount Vernon from the city, sending buses with money for a couple of months. And what happens when that money runs out? Like now you got homeless people on the street, and they got no work, they got no training, there was no program for them to transition them to anything. So now we have their homeless roaming Mount Vernon, and that leads to crime. And that leads to a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah. But the question is, who made the deal, right? Who made the deal? Sandy Bernarby, who was head of the New York State Social Workers Association, we met with Assemblyman Pretlow, and she told Pretlow to his face, when we deal with mentally ill or homeless people, the first place they directed to find them housing is Mount Vernon. It's Mount Vernon. So this is systematic, man. It's systematic across the board. I've been arguing with people that live in Mount Vernon, that pay taxes in Mount Vernon. Y'all need to sue the county and y'all need to sue the state to get resources. They have to give y'all reparations for purposely putting these type of people in your city and not giving you proper resources to maintain them.
And then they cut programs that we do have.
Exactly.
They cut the probation office. They cut all the program. They're cutting wellness. Like, I mean, you're cutting, you're filling us with people, and then you're cutting the services we do have to take care of our people. You know what I'm saying? And then you're giving us other people. And you're wondering, that's a recipe for disaster.
Right.
That's setting you up to fail. That basically, and let me just, on top of the cops in Mount Vernon, there are a lot of people that in Mount Vernon that are trying to do the right things with inaccurate resources.
Right.
And some of the city government, I don't want to throw them totally under. They have done some things with some inadequate resources too. They've done some stuff. So, but everybody, there's no resources here. And
well, you could look. No. You have to think out of the box, right?
You got to get the resources.
You have to get the resources, but there's always way. Listen, there's always way to work around resources just to make sure things work. And changing your policies and making sure that your policies up to date don't require a $1 million budget. It just requires you to get on the goddamn computer, make some goddamn phone calls, and make networks with people that's going to give you the proper information that your policies will be up to date. And get the correct people and empower your training department to start training from those policies. And if your supervisors if they feel that they want to be old school, then you send them motherfuckers home. It's part of leadership. Either we're going to run this place the right way, or y'all got to go home. And then you bring up some people from patrol and you run the motherfucker. You have to have a level of testicular fortitude to make that shit work correctly. And if it doesn't, then we got to figure out who is keeping it from happening and call that motherfucker out. Whoever it is.
Stop worrying about offending people and trying to be friends with
Whoever it is, because they're young people, man. Like when you see these young officers in their early 20s and they want to serve. We don't want to burn them out and run them crazy. It's the job of the department and the leadership of the department and the leadership of the Mount Vernon city government to make sure they get the best that's needed, not cutting corners. Not cutting corners. Not your police department, not your fire department, not the departments that give the city services. You have to think out of the box. And if you're not prepared to do it, then I think people should just say, you know what? Either I don't want to do it or I'm too fucking lazy to do it, and I'm not going to do this no more. I'm going to let people that actually care come in and do the right thing. Because sooner or later, it's just going to get worse, and then the state going to come over and take over every goddamn thing. City Hall, everything. Everything.
So I just saw a message. Let's pray for the leadership of Mount Vernon Police Department, Mount Vernon, New York. I'm sorry. Some have lost their way, forgetting that people put them in office. That's a Mount Vernon resident just posted on Facebook. And I'm like, but it's going to take more than that. It's going to take the people. Again, the people have to demand this.
Well, people complain, but when it comes time to pull that lever, either they
vote for the same people again.
Either they vote for the same people, or they don't come out at all.
Yeah.
Or they don't come out at all. And then they want to. And then January 1st, they see that the same shit is happening that happened the year before. Then they start complaining again. I'm tired of complaining, man. I'm tired of y'all people fucking complaining. Change it. Change it. You got PBA presidents that are trying to reach out to the community to build a trust in the community, to build a bridge in the community, and they've been sounding an alarm for at least 5 or 6 years, and nobody's been listening because they've been saying, sometimes you've been listening to some haters, and then sometimes you just because of how black folks look at police, which is ridiculous. Oh, well, that's the police department. They don't know what they're talking about. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No, they've been out here trying to give y'all the information. Now the question is, what are you gonna do with it? Are you gonna go complaining? You gonna just keep complaining, or are you gonna change your city?
Black Westchester have been trying to give them the information for 10 years now too. And it's just like, we got wrote off from the haters. People listen to the haters about us, try to discredit us. We just attacking somebody because we didn't get a job, and all the usual narratives to try to write off what we do, but never addressing what we've been calling out.
No,
absolutely to that comment.
Well, it's time. It's time, man. We've been here, man.
Well, we're gonna end this show on this one, but we're gonna do a follow up in the new year. We're gonna reach out to the mayor, and if we can, we're gonna get y'all back in with the mayor on to address this all. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Oh, go ahead. You was giving me something.
Before you leave, I just want to say, thank you to you guys for having me and Master on, and to the men and the women of the police department. Thank you for the job that you guys do, right? We appreciate you. Know that there's people in the community that really appreciate the job that you guys do day in and day out, even though it's not appreciated by the administration. So we who are out there with you, next to you, right? And the rain, sleet, snow, right? We appreciate you and keep doing the good job that you do. Because there's a lot of people without you, there would be no Mount Vernon.
Absolutely. And Black Westchester seconds that. I know people think we're anti-police. I'm not anti-police. I'm anti-black cop. A bad cop, I'm sorry. Anti-bad cop. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of people, there are a lot of cops in Mount Vernon who do the damn thing, who do not violate rights, who serve over and beyond the call of duty, who work, who are overworked and underpaid and under-resourced, and still, like you said, come out and do a good job and make something out of nothing. And to all of them, I applaud you. You know what I'm saying? I applaud I applaud a lot of our first responders. When I see the firefighters, when I see them in the supermarket, I applaud them. Cause I'm gonna tell you, yo, real talk, yo, to run into a building that's on fire to save somebody who's not related to you, yo, that's a special job. And
Absolutely.
to run towards bullets and not away from them, that takes something. You understand what I'm saying? Everybody's not equipped to do that. Everybody that your mind tells you bullets, run from it.
Right.
Fire, get the hell away from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, I try to applaud. When I see our firefighters in the supermarkets, yeah, great job. I appreciate what you're doing. And a lot of our officers, same thing. There are some people that should not be police officers. And as Damon and we've said on the show, every job that you work, no matter what, some people that you work with at your job who should not be there, and they should. The police are no different. You know what I'm saying? So there's some people that shouldn't be cops. Real talk. But there's a lot of people there's a lot of Mount Vernon cops that are doing it, and I want to applaud Jennifer Lackard for the job she was trying to do, and Krista Mann for the job they was putting together, and that whole wellness thing. And I've interviewed them several times, especially Jennifer. I've talked to her off to the side, as the vice president of NAACP, and we followed up on a lot of stuff that they were doing and trying to implement and tried to educate the people. And I was really feeling the whole idea of this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? And again, it was groundbreaking. There wasn't a lot of people doing that. It wasn't being done. And like you said, in New Rochelle, if they had that, Jarrell Garris might still be alive because he wouldn't have got shot by a cop, like for stealing some $1.49 worth of fruit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't have been, and there were two officers who tried to de-escalate, and then one overzealous cop came in and escalated the situation. Every call does not require a badge and a gun. And the wellness was doing that. But I also want to say to the residents, a lot of times what we don't understand as residents, a lot of times when cops go to a traffic stop or they go to a scene, they do not know in the first 30 seconds to a minute what they are about to face. They don't know if somebody in that house is just robbed a bank or something like that. They don't know if somebody in that car is just like, I'm not going back to jail or whatever. So sometimes, even though they are the professionals, we have to let them know that, we are not a threat to them. And you know what I'm saying? Like, and it sometimes eases that situation.
Thank
And
you for saying that.
we try to teach that when you get stopped by an officer, and all those things, because you never know. There's still gonna be some dickhead cops that's gonna whatever. You know what I'm saying? But they don't know what they're going up against, and the average person doesn't understand that. And I want to do at least 2 panels this year with the NAACP on working with the Social Action Ministry of Greater Centennial Police Community Relations. We haven't had one of those panels in a very long time, and I think it's sorely needed and to help bridge that gap. So the police do a lot of good things, and I told the commissioners, the Glenn and the person who took his place, yeah, and a couple of guys that was in white shirts. I don't know what their position was, but y'all, this is good stuff. But the community does know none of this. You know what I'm saying? The community they know none of this. You know what I'm saying? So you can't expect them to. They don't know that y'all are doing these things. You know what I'm saying? So the problem is, and I say this in closing, both sides treat the many because of the few. What I mean by that is, so there's a few cops that are assholes, but those are the cops that are always in the street. And those are the cops that we always come in contact with. A lot of the good cops we might not see. So at some point, the community judges all cops by the actions of those few. There's a few idiots out there. Every black man is not a drug dealer with his pants sagging and all that. There's some people in there that deserve to be in jail. They need to be arrested. But the problem is the people that are always out there, they're the ones always out there, and the cops always come in contact with them. Right. So at some point, it's easy for the cops to then judge the many by the few, and it's like that on both sides. And I don't know what I can do, but I want to work on that in 2025 on helping to bridge the gap. Police community relations was always the thing that, me and Damon, we worked on it in all the different cities, White Plains, Peekskill, Yonkers, you know what I'm saying, Greenberg. I want to, we need to bring that back. And we had one or two in Mount Vernon, but that was 2016 or 2017. It hasn't been a major one since then, and it's time for another one. So I'm going to be. That's what I want to get involved in for 2025. So, with that, any last words, anybody? And then we about to be out of here. Happy holidays, whatever it is that you celebrate. Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever it is you celebrate. Thank you for taking this time to spend this time with us on the December 22nd. Thank you for all the people that are tuned in. I know everybody's getting ready for the holidays and all that good stuff, getting ready to travel. Thank you. Any last words, JJ and Mastro?
No, I think you said everything I was gonna say. So again, to the members of the police department, stay strong. Better days are coming. And I know I'm probably gonna take slack from the admin when I go back for tonight. But you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is, because you can't have change if you don't speak out.
Right. You have to do it.
So, hey, if I'm the fall guy, so be it. Master, you know how I feel. It is what it is. So I'll never keep quiet.
I do have one very important question for Mastro.
Yes, sir.
Now that you're retired,
yes.
Now that Maggie's is closed, what do you do during the day now?
Don't worry. The closing happened at a good time because I have some stuff that's going to be keeping me busy for the next 6 months. So
okay, and hopefully
occupied.
Ready to talk about that. You'll be back on here to talk about
I will be back there very soon.
Okay.
I want to thank you.
Thank you guys too. Thank you guys for having us on it. Thank you for always giving us a voice to get our side of the story out there. Truly appreciate you guys.
Absolutely, man. And I think people, like I said, when Mastro was president, man, I used to tell people, reach out. And JJ, you the president now. I tell people, reach out. Just reach out to him. If you want to know what's going on, talk to your PPA president. Yeah. He's out in the city, and talk to him. We can't be so scared of our local police department that we don't want to talk. We don't want to have, and that's and that's what they count on, that there's no communication between the police officers and the community, so they could do that. And I want to say,
us against them type of mentality. Yeah.
Any white shirt, any commissioner, y'all all welcome to come on the show. Y'all are all welcome to come on the show. There's no hate. It's no anti. I used to hate when people would be telling me, I'm anti-police. When I'm married to a cop, this doesn't make any sense. And my wife is an officer. She's a detective. I can't be anti-police. I come from a family of law enforcement. Man, and I just want to see the best, especially in a community that majority looks like me. Shit, I want to see Black excellence. Is it wrong to ask for Black excellence? It's not wrong. It's really not wrong to ask for that. So, big up to everybody out there doing their job, because you give your life. You give your life for this. I don't care what law enforcement department is. There's always a day that you could lose your life. So, we have to show that respect, and everybody's welcome to come on the show. Everybody, the mayor's welcome, the commissioner's welcome, all the white shirts are welcome to come on the show, and let's have this conversation, because it's about moving forward and giving the city the best public safety that it can have. We want to be the jewel of Westchester. We got to start with our police department. We got to start with our fire department. We got to start with public service. That's the only way you're going to be a jewel, if you have those things in place that makes a community sacred, safe, and busy. So let's make it happen. And I thank y'all guys again, man, for stepping up to the plate and willing to have these type of discussions, man. Thank you.
I just want to say in closing, I've had a working relationship with every police commissioner in the last 10 years, except this new guy. I don't even know who the new guy is, to be honest. But I've had to work. All of them have had my cell number, and I've had their cell number, and I've had a working relationship with every police commissioner in the last 10 years. So I'm saying to this new commissioner, we need to have a conversation.
Well,
I still got Glenn and Farragut and all the other. I still got their numbers. You know what I'm saying? I still have all their numbers. You know what I'm saying? And even though they're not commissioners no more, so I'm putting an invitation out to the new guy. I don't even know his name.
And don't believe what you hear. Have a conversation first.
Right. Have a conversation.
Because I know you're gonna hear all type of shit about me, but have a conversation first. I'm a nice guy. I really am. And I probably know a little more than a lot of people think. But I mean, have a conversation because it's about making the city better. That's all it's about. That's all.
I want to be respectful, so I didn't know your name. Commissioner Gibson. I'm talking to you. That's his name, Commissioner Gibson.
Joe Murray.
Right. I'm extending an invitation for communication between us. You understand what I'm saying? Like I've had a working relationship. Again, all the commissioners have had my phone. Had me on speed dial, and I've had them on speed dial. And we didn't always agree, but you know what I'm saying. I've had some kind of relationship with them, and I don't have a relationship with you. So I'm putting that out there. If you want that to happen, that can happen. With that, we out. Happy holidays. This has been Black Westchester presents the People Before Politics radio show. I think episode 244 or something like that. We will have some kind of a special show tomorrow, Damon. If you want to talk about that real quick in closing, and then we out.
Oh yeah, man. We having the year in review. The year in review. We're gonna have. Darryl Davis, community activist from Peekskill, he's coming on. We're gonna have Corey Begeese. He's coming on, man. There's a lot of crazy things going on down there in NYPD. Insane, just insane. So he's gonna come on and talk about what's going on NYPD. We're gonna have Tasha Young, political strategist. She does a lot in the community. And I believe Charles Billups from the Grand Council of Guardians is gonna come on. Maybe he's not sure, but we're gonna just talk about all the stuff. Talk about Trump. Talk about this immigration, this new immigration czar, which I really think, man. Listen. Don't mess with that. That guy is dead serious. He's dead serious, and we're going to talk about the implications that's going to happen in Westchester in working with ICE. Which direction is the county going to take? Because they're definitely going to need the county jail. So we're gonna have that discussion. But we're just going to be a year in review.
And there's been a lot of. He mentioned a lot of national stuff, a lot of local stuff that happened in this last year. And just real quick, we even had Peekskill councilmen arrested for filing fraudulent. We had 2 former Mount Vernon building employees arrested and charged with fraud. We had Derrickson Lawrenson convicted on 11 counts of indictment.
About Derrickson.
We had the Mount Vernon Police Department boycott the mayor's Police Week celebrations. We had a Greenberg Graham Union Free School District employee arrested on corruption charges for stealing from school funds. Like, there's been a whole lot that went on this year. We had a former county legislator change his party affiliation from Democrat to the Working Family Party because he was fed up with the Dems. Like, there's been a lot that went on, and that's just a clip note of all the things that have gone on in this past year. And we had the election, the whole Latimer Bowman election, APAC, and all that. We're gonna address all of that in the year in review next tomorrow, and it's gonna be, you don't want to miss it.
Yep, and I want to thank everybody for watching. Everybody that's going to watch the show, thank you, and we are out of here.
Peace.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, if I could switch over. What's going on?
You got the control. What's up?
Hold on a second. Hold on, man. What the hell is going on, man?
You got the control.
What's happening? I'm trying to get up out of here.
Is this what you're trying to do?
This is the People Before Politics show, broadcast every Sunday at 6 p.m. Hosts Damon K. Jones and AJ Woodson bring you the news that impacts our community. Join us for unfiltered, unapologetic coverage of the stories that matter most. Black Westchester Magazine presents the People Before Politics show, the news with the black point of view.
$22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. Today, look around America. We see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who